The feature branch philosophy that we talked about in the last video is a really popular idea for managing your workflow in Git, and it makes a lot of sense. Like we saw, there's a lot of advantages to working on bigger features in branches. Some people like to carry that practice a little further, though, and use branches for every distinct task that they undertake. To that end, there's an extension you can add to Git called Git Flow that can make this kind of workflow very easy to manage. Let's install that and take a look at how it works. We want to install it, so I'm going to scroll down and look for installation notes. Here we go. Since I'm using the Treehouse console application, I need to follow the instructions for Linux, but be sure to use what works for your own setup. Git Flow comes as an additional subcommand for Git. So now, just like git init, git commit, git merge, etc., we will now have a Git Flow command. In order to prep our repository, I'm going to create one new branch real quick named Integration. I'll explain why in just a second. Now we need to initialize our repository to get it ready for Git Flow. We do this by running the git flow init command. This will ask us a series of questions about our preferred workflow. We'll use master as our production branch. If we're working on a website, for example, master would represent the version of the project that people currently see live on the site. If this were a mobile app, master would represent the latest version you release to the App Store, and so on. Now we have the option to set up a branch for integration of the next release. This is where features will go when they're finished, but before they go live on the site. You can think of it as being the branch where all the work is happening before you move a finished version into master. This is what we created the integration branch for earlier, so let's go ahead and use that. Now it will ask us about a bunch of branch prefixes. Git Flow's model, like I mentioned before, is to handle everything by creating a branch. Features, releases, hotfixes, etc. And if you aren't careful about organizing that many branches, they can become overwhelming. So Git Flow adds a prefix to each of these branches when you create them in order to help with organization. You can change these to be something else if you want, but I'm just going to accept the defaults. Then we'll get asked about our version tag prefix. Git supports the concept of tagging, which we haven't talked about yet, but it's the idea of providing special names for certain commits. Anytime we move changes into the master branch, that is, anytime we mark our work as ready to go live, Git Flow will tag it with a special message so that we can find it later. I'm just going to leave this blank. And now the initialization process is done, so we can start using Git Flow. The commands for Git Flow are pretty simple. As you're going to work on a new feature, you can run git flow feature start feature name. It's a little verbose, but we're telling Git Flow that we're working with a feature, we want to start that feature, and we're going to provide a name so that we can remember what it is we're working on. You can see that Git Flow has a helpful output that describes what it just did. In that one command, we created a new branch with the feature prefix based on the integration branch. Remember that this is what we want because that's where our work is supposed to be happening until we're ready to push our changes into master. It also lets us know that when we're done working on our feature, all we need to do is run the git flow feature finish command. We can now work on our new feature as long as we need to, making commits along the way. When we're done, we just run git flow feature finish feature name. And we can see it will merge our feature branch into integration for us. It will delete the old feature branch, and it switches us back over to integration, so we're ready to continue working. This is pretty cool. This tool is very opinionated about how you should manage your branches, but if you follow its ideas about your workflow in Git, it can do a lot of the drudgery of branch management for you. We can also create hotfix branches. This is the classic, there's a bug in the website scenario. You need to make a quick fix to the version of code that's on master. This works just like a feature branch. Just run git Flow, hotfix start, and then provide a name. I'm going to use, oh no, not a bug. You can see that it did very similar steps. It created a new branch with the right prefix and switched you over to it, but this time it based the branch on master, because that's the version of code that we want to fix. You can now fix the problem, commit your changes, and when you're done, just finish the hotfix. Git Flow will prompt us for a tag message for our changes as it merges everything into master and deletes our hotfix branch. This is just a taste of what it's like to work with Git Flow. If this seems like a great way to manage your projects, I'd suggest you visit the project page and learn more. Some people really love the well-defined aspect of using Git Flow to manage their projects, while others will prefer to be really flexible about how they manage their branches. There are virtues in both processes, and the most important thing to do is to find something that you and your team can agree on. If some members of the team use one methodology and others use a different one, it can lead to some confusion. Since one of the main aims of source control is to make managing complex projects easy, adding confusion would be a very bad thing. Let's do some practice with Git Flow so that you can get a little bit of a feel for what it's like to work in that style.